Welcome to Queendom Perspectives with Nina Michelle. My name is Nina Michelle, and I just want to thank you all for tuning in to my new episode. This is my first episode of 2025, so I want to thank everyone that has been rocking with me, for the people that, have tuned into some of my episodes from last year. I have a lot more content getting ready to roll out, but I just want to thank you all. So if you are a first-time viewer, I want to thank you for tuning into this channel. Thank you for taking time to listen and watch this video. And I just want to let you know that this channel will talk about and discuss Christian content. So everything that I discuss is going to all be built around Christian content and the Bible, the Word, because we all need the Word. So once again, I thank you all. And if you would be so kind to please hit the like button, please hit like on this video. And also, if you'd be so kind to please subscribe. So if you find this content of any value, also I would ask you to share it. So if it's of any value, or if you feel like somebody else needs to hear it, or somebody else will really benefit from this video, please feel free to share it. So we've got hit the like button, subscribe, and then share it. So once again, you all, I just want to thank you for your patience. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for even taking time to stop by and to listen to this video. So what is today's video going to be about? Today's video is going to describe some signs and symptoms of how you can identify when you have a witch in your close friend circle, or even in your family, because, evil is very prevalent now. Witchcraft, warlocks, evil is running rampant. Everybody knows it's like at an all-time high. So it's like things that used to be like more hidden, things that we didn't really talk about, things that we maybe didn't have any knowledge about. Now it feels like we have a lot more knowledge about those subjects. So today I'm going to start with the scripture of the day first. Today's scripture is coming from Deuteronomy chapter 18, 10 through 12. It's the King James Version for anyone's reference. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. So once again, that was Deuteronomy chapter 18, 10 through 12. First, I'm going to start with what is the definition of a witch? Because, I understand some people just, like to use different words, and, it's like a lot of words are being overused, or it might feel like a buzzword, but what is the definition? If we start by giving you the Merriam-Webster definition of witch. Okay, so here are the definitions that are listed. A person, especially a woman, who is credited with having malignant, which means evil, supernatural powers. The second part of the definition is a woman who is believed to practice, usually black magic, often with the aid of a devil or familiar spirit, and this person is considered a sorceress. The third definition is a person/woman who professes or is supposed to practice magic or sorcery. So those are basically the Merriam-Webster dictionary definition of what is a witch. I just wanted to cover that. So one thing I was going to say is that power, control, and manipulation are like the three dominant classic traits that kind of help define narcissism. So when a person is a narcissist, they're typically utilizing power, control, and manipulation. And I hate to say this, but in witchcraft, it's very, very similar. They're almost synonymous, to be honest, because witchcraft works the same way. It works through the spirit of power, control, and manipulation. However, in this case, if you add on envy and jealousy, it's like that's typically like a real, it's like a real recipe for becoming a witch or having witchcraft traits, because once you add on the bitterness and the jealousy, it's going to give you the ammunition to want to harm others and to want to do evil and to want to get back at other people, typically. And one thing I was going to say, just because I have had a lot of, unfortunately, negative encounters and interactions with people that are operating under this spirit, and people that are practicing unknowingly, to me at first, one thing I would say is that witches typically harbor a lot of jealousy and envy, bitterness, and resentment in their hearts. I have not met one witch that does not have a lot of bitterness or resentment. And then when you add jealousy and envy, and that typically comes from a person, feeling insecure inside, or they might feel like they had a really rough life. Like they might feel like they weren't dealt a fair hand in life, and they see other people prospering and some things seem so easy for others. So most of the persons that I have witnessed, because I even have, unfortunately, I do have a relative, that this person is a relative that has been into the witchcraft for a very long time. When she first started, it's like when I say we, I would just say me and another relative didn't realize that that's what it was. It's like, this person had lured us in, like they were doing all these readings for us. And I'm just telling you, like, this is before I learned, what we're not supposed to get into. And it's like, we were just down with it. We were going for whatever they was sharing with us. Then it's like it became an unhealthy obsession. Then I didn't realize that their whole life was being controlled by the sun, the moon, the stars, the timing. Everything had to be just timed just right. So one thing that I will say is that I have not witnessed anybody that I know that harbors the spirit not have bitterness. They're typically struggling with bitterness and resentment in their heart, and oftentimes envy and jealousy. And if we just talk about really fast, what is the difference between jealousy and envy? One thing I will say is those two are they're basically like sisters. They're almost synonymous. They're very close. But the one thing about jealousy is like, I'm upset that you have it. I'm bothered that you have something, or I'm even bothered if you're, getting close to someone that is already in my life. So it's like, you're building a bond with my friends, my family, or, whomever, somebody that I hold near and dear to my heart. Jealousy is like, it's like a bitterness and it's a resentment inside a person's heart because they're upset about something that you have that they want. And even if they have it, it could be that they don't want you to have any part of it, But with envy, take envy. Envy is a step further. Envy is just it's so terrible. That's why they always use the color green and say green with envy. Because the thing about envy is it's so bad because it's like, not only do I not want you to have it, it's like I want to sabotage you. I want to actually figure out how I can bring you down, how I can humble you, how I can make bad things happen in your life so you will not be as prosperous as you were, and so you won't have the things that you were having, or, whether it's the good luck that they think you're having, which is really blessings. It could be that. It could be a host of things. So whatever it is that they think that you have that they don't have, and they don't want you to have it, that's what envy is. Envy is like, I will literally take your life. I will take you down to make sure that you don't get something, that you're not able to obtain it, or if you obtain it, I'm going to try to destroy you so you can't have peace in it, or you can't just enjoy it. I want to take that from you because I deserve those blessings. And that's why I said it always goes back to bitterness, resentment, and jealousy is the first step, like I explained. But those are kind of like the roots. Those are the roots of it, because the person has like a false sense of entitlement. Oftentimes they feel like they deserve what other people have. They feel like they deserve someone else's blessings. They deserve, if someone gets a new car, a new job, a promotion, whatever, they feel like that should have been theirs. They're the only ones who should be prospering or be on top. So that's typically some of the things that come along with it. So let's get into sign number one. Sign number one, and I'm going to try to go through these as quickly as possible. We have 10 signs, but I'm going to do my best. The first sign is flattery, okay? So I'm going to just read a scripture to you all. Proverbs chapter 29:5, King James Version, once again. It warns that a man, so here is the scripture, 29:5, a man that flattereth his neighbor spreadeth a net for his feet. So basically what that means is anyone that is flattering you is actually setting a trap for you, which is really messed up. And what flattery does is it hides a person's ulterior motives. I know this firsthand because in my previous video, I talked about how a former friend was actually a full-blown witch, which I was not aware the whole time we were in the friendship. I was not aware that they had ulterior motives towards me. I was not aware that they secretly hated me. I was not aware that they truly were not my friend until they betrayed me, and sent a curse to me. I was not aware. And I'm going to say one of the number one signs of how I fell into the trap of, I'm just going to say being bewitched is through flattery. And it's because I thought that, I'm just going to be real, I'm just being honest. I really thought that this person was like, I'm going to say they were kind of like my number one hype woman. Like I'm saying they were telling me so many great things about myself. And, they would just always like, cheer me on. Like they weren't that type of person that was like, giving you a bunch of backhanded compliments or, saying mean, evil things to you. Not at all. This person totally had me fooled. Okay. They were not saying mean things. They weren't giving me those slick slide remarks and comments that people give you if they're jealous or if they have envy in their heart towards you. So what I want to say about flattery is how people typically will win you over, because it's like if a person is always telling you so many good things about yourself, they seem like almost like a cheerleader in your life, like they're always, like hyping you up. And what I would say is like of my friendship relationships at the time, I would say that was probably the only person that, used to hype me up like that. And I'm like, man, wow, I just felt good. Like, wow, this person, I'm just being honest, they would sometimes give excessive compliments and, and tell you, people, if they don't know who you are, you're this, you're that, that type of thing. And it's like, wow, everybody needs that because, one thing that I would say is like, there's 5 people that typically we need in our life that are instrumental in our life and even in the success of our lives. And the 5 people are cheerleader, a mentor, a coach, friends, and your peers. Those are the 5, types of relationships that are very helpful to have in your life. So, outside of like a romantic relationship of a spouse. So that's what I will say to you is like flattery really caught me off guard. And I just want to say that flattery is different than just giving compliments. Because one thing about me is I'm a very, very complimentary person. I have no problems complimenting another woman, no problems complimenting someone or telling them that they're beautiful, you're special, or you're just a fabulous person, whether they dress nice, look nice, whatever it is, you have a great personality, you're sweet, you're full of joy. I have no problem with that. And let me just share a scripture of why I like to give compliments. Philippians chapter 2, 3 through 5. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind. Let each esteem other better than themselves. So let each other esteem others better than themselves. So really what the Bible says is that we are always supposed to esteem others higher than we do ourselves. So when you esteem others higher than you do yourselves, then it's like you should be complimentary to others. You should be able to share a kind word and encourage someone else. Sometimes a compliment can really make a person's day. We don't know what people are going through. People are struggling with a lot of depression, anxiety, all sorts of things. So it's like sometimes you don't know how encouragement or a compliment could really, encourage someone. So for me, like if you see me, if anybody that knows me personally, you see me on social media and I compliment other people or I try to tell them kind words, that is why, because the Bible says to do that. But one thing that I don't try to do is flattery, because flattery is typically a bunch of words. It's a bunch. They could be talking fast, they could be talking loud, but it's typically a bunch of empty words. So they're telling you a lot of great things. It could be true. It doesn't mean that these things are not true about yourself. It's just that they're telling you these things, but it's not genuine. It's not coming from a genuine, sincere heart. It's like, let me just hype you up. It's kind of like, okay, somebody's giving you a job and they just said, go ahead and hype that person up, gas them up. make them believe you. It's kind of like that. That's what flattery consists of. Okay, let's jump into sign number 2. Sign number 2 is gifts slash food slash bewitchment. And I'm going to basically give these signs in no particular order. So basically, let me just give the definition for what does it mean for someone to bewitch you. It means, so once again, this is a Merriam-Webster dictionary definition. It means to enchant and delight someone, cast a spell over someone. Also to influence or affect, especially injuriously, by witchcraft. So this is the definition that Merriam-Webster has listed. To cast a spell over, to attract as if by the power of witchcraft, to enchant slash fascinate. So I will just kind of talk about with this. You have to be very, very careful who you accept gifts from, whose food you eat. Because one thing that I will share with you, and this is just through my own personal experiences and everything that has happened in my life, is that when you are being bewitched, which is like, I just couldn't see it. What bewitchment does to you is it's like it puts blinders over your eyes. It's like it blinds your eyes from seeing a person's true intentions and their true motives towards you. It's like you actually will lack the discernment to see who is truly for you, who may be against you, and who may have something against you. So let's say, for example, you are eating this person's food all the time. They're always cooking for you, or they're always showing up with food as a gift. Like let's say you didn't ask for the food, but they're bringing, the food to you. They're blessing you with food. They can cook good, or, or even a relative of theirs may make the food for you. What happens is when someone has those evil, malicious intentions that I spoke of, you lose your ability to see what's really real. You can't see that this person may not really have a good heart towards me, or actually that this person they actually really don't love me as a friend, a family member, whomever, co-worker, whatever, so it's like you got to be real careful. I know there's a lot of us that, we sometimes we hate potluck. Like we're not eating potluck. We're not eating everybody's cooking because you don't know the conditions of their kitchen. You don't know their spirit. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know if cats and dogs been on the stove. You don't know. So it's like in this day and age, potlucks are not popping like they used to be because you got to be so careful. So let me just follow this carefulness up with the scripture. Okay. So I'm going to read Proverbs 23 verses 6-8. This is the King James Version once again. So eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou dainty meats. And dainty meats, for anyone who may be listening, like, what is that? That basically refers to luxurious, costly, and tempting foods. They're often associated with indulgence and the allure of worldly pleasure. So, and then also hear the phrase evil eyes. So chapter 6 says, eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye. The phrase evil eye is used to describe someone who is miserable, envious, or covetous. And that means you want what other people have. And there we go right back to envy. So one thing that the Bible just says is to be real careful sitting down to eat with and break bread with people that don't truly like you. Be careful. Don't be so quick to desire their the food that you're like, oh my God, I can't pass up a free meal. Oh my God. Like, so-and-so's having crab legs. I'm coming over. So like, you don't even know that person's spirit. You don't really know them very well, but you're like, they're having crab legs. So you're there. Be careful. Be careful. That's all I can say. Number 7. So verse 7 is, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. So this is basically an example of when someone invites you to dinner, or they invite you to eat up, drink up. They're just watching you. They're encouraging you. Eat up, drink up. But at the same time, this person is basically inviting you over, but the hospitality is truly insincere. It's insincere hospitality. And basically, this person, like I said, they're hiding their true intentions and their true feelings towards you. You know, like if a person did, put some poison in the pot or something, basically I would just say they want the person, they're feeling like, well, I fed them today, but they're gonna be sick later, if they did something like evil. But also, people can also use these type of things to try to make you feel like you owe them. If they're like, I blessed you with food, or I invited you over and you ate all the crab legs, or whatever. So one thing I would just say is be careful, be very careful. And another thing that I'm going to say, so I'm going to read verse 8, and then I just want to share something else. Verse 8 says, the morsel which thou hast eaten shalt thou vomit up, and lose thy sweet words. So basically, once again, this is someone with insincere hospitality. And it's like, I'm just saying that the food that you're eating is going to become like an aversion to your soul and to you later on. It's like you're gonna be regretting that you broke bread with them. You're gonna be regretting that you ate that food, because it's like, man, I don't even care if it's like drama, negativity, whatever comes of it. Even if the person's just trying to hold it over your head, that they invited you over for dinner and you had such a great time or whatever, it's really about that person's heart. If they don't have a good, sincere heart towards you, this is what causes that to be a problem. So one thing I will always say is be extremely, extremely careful accepting food and gifts from people, especially if you do not trust their spirit. So if something in you just doesn't allow you to trust their spirit, or if you do not know them very well, you don't know them very well, you just met them. You just met them at work. They're your coworker. They invited you over, or they're your coworker. They went on a trip. They're bringing you something back. Just be careful. And the reason why I'm telling you to be careful is because food and gifts actually cause us to come into covenant with the person. So even though we may not see it that way, we may see it as, I'm just accepting a gift. Somebody gave me a gift. I'm just accepting the blessing. Someone invited me over for dinner. I'm going to take the meal, or you think this is your friend or your relative or whatnot. The thing about it is you just have to be very cautious about who you eat with, whose food you eat, and especially, like I said, a person's intentions towards you. If you do not want to come into covenant with a person, that's why I'm saying you have to be careful who you accept gifts from. So, let's say friends give you jewelry, they give you, purses, they give you wallets, they give you clothing, they give you, whatever, cookies, pies, whatever, your favorite food items. Let's say they're giving you these types of things. Once again, as I shared, this is how you become bewitched. Because it's like, if I'm accepting the gifts that you're given, I actually don't know that I'm making a covenant with you. I actually don't realize that I'm coming into agreement with you. I'm saying that I agree. I'm in agreement with you because I'm actually accepting something from you. So it's like, if you are taking those gifts, you're taking those food items, you're wearing the clothing, you're wearing the jewelry, it's like you are in agreement with that person, even though you may not even be aware that they're doing something, malevolent behind the scenes. You may not have any idea what they're doing, but just know that somehow, some way, you are unintentionally coming into agreement with that person and their evil, because you're accepting their gifts, you're accepting their food, and they're doing all this through flattery, and they're bewitching you. So one thing I would say also is I would encourage people to get rid of all the gifts. If there is someone in your friend circle or even in your family that you suspect is, into witchcraft, casting spells, trying to harm people, malicious, and someone that, is very bitter and resentful, and they're always talking about how other people should pay for, the things that they do, like someone who's like very vengeful. If you notice any of those type of signs in a person and they seem quite negative, I just want to say, if you don't know this person's spirit and if you don't know what they're doing behind closed doors, please get rid of all the gifts. Please get rid of all the items. I don't even care if it's a greeting card. Get rid of the greeting cards. Everything must go. You got to cut all ties. Everything must be discarded because you have to cut ties with this person. So if you continue to hold on to items from them, then once again you're continuing to be in a covenant unknowingly with this person. So I'm encouraging you, get rid of all gifts. If it's food, throw it in the trash. And as a matter of fact, just don't accept food from people if you don't trust their spirit, period. And for me, I would say personally, I thought that I trusted a person that was, giving me tons of food, and I didn't realize their real intentions for me. So really what I would say is to be very careful about accepting food from people, and especially if you don't ask for it. So if you don't ask for it and it was not your idea, your suggestion, be very careful. So like if you pay someone, or you ask someone to please prepare this certain food for the baby shower or the bridal shower, and you trust their spirit, okay, that's fine, accept the food, because we all eat out. We all purchase food, out in the field, and we don't know what these people are doing in the kitchen. You don't know what spirit the cooks have, on them, even when we go to a restaurant. So I'm just saying, if that's the case, it's okay, to eat the food. But if people are showing up with food you didn't ask for, like you're like, you just showed up with a feast, like you didn't ask for it, be careful. And then also watch out for people who are always trying to give you something, because it's just another way to cover up hidden intentions. It's like, if I'm always trying to give you a gift, I'm always trying to flatter you. It's like, that's how I basically, I want to say, I buy you. I buy you. And when you do that, you're basically getting a person to let their guard down, because it's like, if I'm giving you gifts, I'm giving you food, I'm flattering you with my words, you're going to start to trust me. You're going to believe me. You're going to trust me. And when you start to trust me, what you will do is you're going to let your guard down naturally. That's natural. Like, the thing about love is we can't be loved if we don't make ourselves vulnerable and allow ourselves to trust someone. You can't receive love. You can't even have friendship if you don't allow yourself to trust anybody. So that's, basically how I would say that they're able to tempt you and, trick you, is, through the bewitchment of food, gifts, and stuff of that nature. If they purchase gifts for your children, you all get rid of those gifts for the kids too, okay? I don't care if they got your kid the best doll ever. Get rid of that doll. Get rid of anything that they purchase for you or your household or your family. Get rid of it, because you do not want any unnecessary covenants with this person. You don't want any unnecessary ties with someone that, has secret malicious intention towards you. Also, what I would recommend before I go on to number 3 is to just don't accept no purses, no wallets from anybody that you do not trust their spirit. So if you don't trust their spirit, if you don't know them well enough to know, this person, this is what they believe in, or this is, who they are. This person is not, dibbling and dabbling in occultic practices, because I would just say those type of items are typically utilized as an avenue and a curse to bring poverty into your life. There's other ways for people to cast spells and bring poverty into our lives, but that is one of the utilizations, one of the methods. So that's why I am encouraging you to get rid of all gifts from them, all. And if they've given you a wallet, a purse, whatever you want to call it, anything to hold on to your money, your finances, please discard it, because it's basically a hidden tactic to try to make it hard for you to hold on to finances and money, and to make it hard for you to flourish. So please get rid of those items. If you have not already, please discard those items. Into sign number 3. Sign number 3, and I'm going to try to go through these a little bit faster. Sign number 3 is fake help and want to be needed. One thing I would say is that from the encounters that I have had with witches, and from what I know, is that they typically always desire to be needed. They want to be regarded by others as someone helpful or someone that you can call on in times of trouble. They typically will even offer you a helping hand in the worst of times. They sometimes pretend to be super helpful, and they will be one of the persons that will come be like front and center. Like they might be one of the first ones to be front and center when a disaster or turmoil is going on in your life. So one thing that I would say is to be very, very careful who you share your bad news with, okay? Be very careful, because there are people, these people are evil inside, and that's what makes them plot and actually feel happy when they hear that bad things are happening to you. So they typically also pretend to be very interested in your downfall. They want all the details. They're very interested in, bad things that are happening in your life and, just all sorts of things. They also can get very curious and pretend that they want to help you overcome whatever you're going through. So please, once again, be very cautious of who you share your bad news with, when you share your bad news, and also be very mindful and watchful of if things are always like, if there's one person always present when things are going wrong. So it's like, if you have a common denominator like this every time, like, hey, this happened in my house, the car broke down, then that happened, if it's like always this person is always present when things are going bad in your life, watch it. Be very, very careful. Try to make sure that that person, is not the reason why things are going wrong. Also, so number 4, I'm going to get into. Number 4, this person, so I'm going to say typically when a person is a witch or practicing witchcraft, they typically wear amulets. They typically wear things like the evil eye jewelry, crystals, talismans. Also, they can wear ankhs and they can burn sage. So one thing I want to say about the ankh is like the, ancient Egyptian, it looks like a cross, but it's like a cross with a loop. One thing I want to say about the ankh is, I know a lot of people that may listen to this video may say, hey, I wear an ankh and I'm not a witch. So what I will say is, I won't say that every person that wears an ankh is a witch, but what I will tell you is witchcraft practices, ankhs are utilized in witchcraft practices. They are actually utilized as a witchcraft symbol. So if you Google, just, Google the history of the ankh and other things, then you will see that it is actually utilized in witchcraft practices and rituals. Also, sage is supposed to be used as a form of protection for cleansing rituals. This is actually false, because sage actually is not actually a form of protection. It actually invites demonic energy into your home and into your life. So one thing that I will say is, if you are dealing with a ghost, a spirit, or some kind of unclean spirit or negative energy, toxic energy, do not go purchase the sage. Don't get the sage, y'all. Don't burn it. Whatever you do, leave the sage out of it. It's not going to invite blessings. It's not going to invite peace. It doesn't invite comfort. It actually lets the demons know in the spiritual realm that they're welcome here, because this person is, tapping into, they're utilizing something other than God to tap into peace, safety, and protection. That's why in this case, we have to put our faith in God. If you want to utilize something, go get some blessed oil, go get some blessed oil. That is what I would recommend. But do not put your faith in items. Anybody that's putting their faith in items, this is how it becomes witchcraft. So it's like, if you're wearing the evil eye, if you're wearing crystals around your neck, and you're utilizing them as a form of protection or to ward off evil, to ward off jealousy or envy, that's why it's witchcraft, because you are trusting in darkness to protect you and deliver you. You're not trusting in God. You're not saying, I'm just going to trust in God. I'm going to trust in the Holy Spirit for protection. Instead, you're seeking darkness. You're seeking something from an alternative source other than God. So the truth is, there's only 2 sources. There is evil and there's God. So if you're not seeking God for this protection, this safety, then unfortunately you are defaulting into evil. So that's what I will say. You're defaulting into that. So I'm not calling everyone a witch because they utilize, because they, they burned sage, they thought it would help them, or even if they wear the ankh. But I will say that you are utilizing occultic practices, which invites evil into your life and into your home, especially. So also, people are utilizing like these items to a lot of times to perform rituals. So, I would just say people, when they're doing dark rituals and evil things, they're utilizing some of these items that I mentioned above in their spell casting and as charms. So those type of things, God frowns on those type of things. He goes against that. Let's get into number 5. Number 5 is control, manipulation, and intentionality. So one thing that I will say about witches, typically, especially when they're in your friend circle or family or someone close around you, they typically operate in control and manipulation. And I will say sometimes it can be overt, like they're very, very bossy, very controlling. It always has to be their way or the highway. Everybody in the family has to do everything the way they said, or it's going to be a problem. Like if everybody doesn't do what they said, it's going to be a problem, or it can be very subtle. And I would say a subtle way that I would describe is like, let's say every time you meet with a friend group, this particular friend has to be in control of the plans. This particular friend always controls where you all go. They make the plans, and it's always going to be where they want to go or what they want to do. A person might just say, oh, that's just, being selfish, that they didn't ask others, where would you like to meet or what would you like to do? But so that's why I said sometimes, we might dismiss it as just simply, I'm just willing to try new places. They always, suggest a new place or something. But one thing that I will tell you, and this is just from my own personal life that I've experienced, is, when someone has to always be in control, they always have to control when you meet, if you meet, and where you meet. Like you don't have a say so, like they're not asking you for your opinion or, hey, what restaurant would you like to go to today? Or, I want to see you soon. Let's do something. They never ask, what would you like to do? And then you might see them doing a lot of fun things. Like you see them doing fun stuff out all the time, but it's like you're never invited to any of that. They don't invite you to the fun stuff, or like if they're at the lake all the time, or, they're doing a certain activity. They don't invite you for that. They invite you strategically to dinner and drinks all the time, or this or that. So they can kind of like pick your brain and, get you to talk, gossip with you, and, all those other things. Also, I would say that the manipulation, they can tend to be manipulative with actions and words. So what this looks like is typically these people will, mask these behaviors through being really nice. And I don't want to use the word kind, because kindness is a fruit of the spirit. Niceness is not a fruit of the spirit. Kindness is, though. And niceness, so I will say that typically they will mask their good deeds. They like to do good deeds and do good things for people, and they mask all this under the auspice of being very nice and genuine. And this is what will typically cause people to cleave to them, because it's like, this person is being so nice to me, they're being so kind, they're being really good to me. And one thing I will say is, like, when a person's being manipulative, like let's say, you're in a friend circle or something with, like I said, it could be one witch, it could be two witches, who knows? But if there is a witch present, they typically will do things to try to isolate you from some of your other relationships. So like, let's say you have several friend groups, like you have other people that you care about and you like to spend a lot of time with. What they do is they try to mask, they use all that niceness and good deeds to mask their true intentions, so you will cleave to them. Because it's like, if I'm showing you that I'm just the bestest friend, I'm the bestest friend for you, I'm always there for you, I pick you up when you're down, even though I seem to be present every time you're going through something really, really harsh in your life and a lot of turmoil. But it's like, let's say, I'm always taking you out, I'm always giving you gifts. I'm utilizing flattery. If I do those things, it will cause you to put other relationships on the back burner. It will cause you to sometimes like isolate from your other friends. It might even cause you to isolate from family members. So it's like, let's say the weekends come and you're always off on the weekends. Instead of hanging out with, your family or spending any time with family or even your other friends, it's like you only want to be with this friend, and we're not talking about just, someone having a best friend. Of course, if you're close to one person, you're closer to one person than another, then it's like, of course, you're going to want to spend more time with that person. But what I'm saying is when people are using manipulative tactics to get you away from your other friends, they want to get you away from your family members and they want to have you all to themselves. That's really what I'm talking about. And that's what causes you to put other relationships on the back burner and distance yourself because you're spending so much copious amounts of time with this person. That's really what I'm speaking about. And like I said, it shows up as flattery. It shows up as gifts. They do really, really nice things for you and they appear to be a good person that you can trust. Also, when you have a witch in your friend circle or your family, close, kinship, whatever, they often like to control your friend circle. So this will be someone that's like I said, they have that jealousy and that envy. They may not like for you to have other friends. They may feel jealous when you have other friends. They want you all to themselves, or they feel like they'll be less relevant or become less significant in your life if they see that you have other close relationships. They're worried that they're going to be replaced, if you get close to others. They want to be the only one to have you. Also, I will say an example of how this can look is, let's say you're having a party. Let's say you're having a birthday party. This person may be very controlling. Like they want to control your guest list. So it's your birthday, it's your special celebration, but they want to tell you who should or shouldn't be welcomed at this party. They'll even encourage you not to invite someone that maybe you want to invite. So let's say you wanted to extend an invite to this person to your wedding or to your birthday party. They're going to encourage you to take that person off the guest list because they don't like them or they feel some type of way about them, even if that person has not done anything to them, especially when they haven't done anything. Also, they might even control the venue. They might control the food. They might tell you, try to tell you how you shouldn't have the party at a certain place or, try to discourage you from, doing what you want to do. They want it to be their idea, their suggestion, so they can get all the glory and take the credit and say, I'm the one who planned her whole wedding and I'm the one who told her to do this, and that. So what I'm really trying to say is it's subtle when, I'm going to say when people, especially witches, when they're utilizing control, manipulation, and intentionality to control you and once again bewitch you, it's typically subtle. It's not always overt, but everybody has, people in their family and their friend circle sometimes that can be very bossy and overtly controlling. Like they feel like they have to be in charge of everything. They have to run everything and everything has to go their way or people are going to suffer or it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a grudge. It's going to be, just a bunch of nonsense, and foolishness. So that is sign number 6. Sign number 5, control, manipulation, intentionality. Sign number 6 brings gossip and spread rumors. So let me tell you, you all, I can honestly say in the past, I was so guilty within this friend circle of sitting there and gossiping with them, whether I'm listening to them talk about somebody or whether I'm joining in on, we're talking about this person and what they did and how we don't like them and, how we feel about them. So guilty of it. But I will tell you, this is another way that you get bewitched by witches. So you have to be very, very careful because basically this person is bringing gossip and they also spread rumors to basically to stir up discord. They want to stir up negative emotions and reactions. They want to get negative emotions and reactions stirred up inside of you. Because if you know anything about God, you'll know that God doesn't forgive us if we don't forgive others. So if I am if I'm hearing that so-and-so has been talking about me and they said this and they said that and blah, 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 then what's going to happen is I'm going to have a bunch of negative emotions stirred up inside of me. And I may even have a grudge against this person. That's how people start building grudges. So it's like, instead of confronting the person, or, maybe God didn't tell you to confront them, you have a grudge because you're upset because they said these awful things about you that are not true. Like, I remember even at a former job, this person, this lady was going around spreading rumors about me and lying and gossiping and saying that I wasn't competent. She was saying some awful things about me and telling other coworkers, and then it got back to me. And I was so mad. Like, I was just like fuming against this lady. But, I had to learn some tough lessons, like, especially about vengeance. No matter how upset you get, let God handle the vengeance. Don't you try to get the person back. Just let it go. Whatever they did, let it go. But one thing I will say about gossip and someone who's bringing gossip and spreading rumors, if you have friends that always want the tea and they always want the gossip, please be leery of these friends. Please, you all. God doesn't want us to gossip. He doesn't want us to be in circles just talking about people and having a negative fest. He doesn't want that at all. Please pay attention to how you feel in their presence. Also pay attention to how you feel when these persons leave. How do you feel when they leave your presence? Also, I would just say that gossip always stirs up unforgiveness and grudgefulness in our heart. It's really no good. It's no good for none of us. And I'm not talking about if somebody shares their personal business with you and they tell you, hey, I'm going through something, I'm dealing with something. That's not gossip. It's gossip if it's, we're speaking very negative about a person. We're not sharing factual statements, about someone. You're gossiping or you're just talking about their business and their downfall. If I'm sharing with you, hey, I had an experience with this person and this is how I was treated, I'm not necessarily gossiping. I'm just sharing with you, hey, I had an experience. This is what happened with me. Also, I would just say be very, very watchful of people that spread rumors and gossip, because just from personal experience, I will tell you that it was like a former coworker situation, and I had a person, the person came back and told me that people were spreading gossip and rumors about me, and come to find out, they were the person who actually started the rumor. That's what's so crazy. I mean, so it's like it got very messy and it got complicated. And it's like I was in a relationship at the time, and me and this person was, going to premarital counseling. We were supposed to get married. And somehow it's like they went back and told former coworkers that I wasn't even in a relationship. Like, they act like I made up the whole thing so I could look like I was a liar, because the people that knew me were like, she's very close to this person. So if this person, like if I'm extremely close to someone and they're telling you she's not even in a relationship, no, it's all lies. If someone tells you that, you're going to be looking like, wow, well, that's really unfortunate, and they're probably looking at me like, I thought things were going well for Nina, or I thought that she, was going to get married, but it looks like, that's not the case. So I just want to say, in general, be very careful of people that are gossiping and spreading rumors. And a lot of times when people are doing really evil, malicious things, they tell off on themselves. They somehow, some way tell off on themselves. Like, let's say somebody does something really evil and malicious to you on social media. That'll be the person to call you and tell you they've been posting. They made a post about you. And you'll be like, what? Who's they? Somebody made a bad post about you. And come to find out, they're the one behind it the whole time. Be very careful with these people. The next thing I was going to say is number 7, new age / occultic practices. So some examples of this is people who visit and utilize psychics, mediums, tarot cards, people who are obsessed with astrology, new age meditation, practices of yoga and Reiki, those type of things. So and even the universe stuff. Those are like new age occultic practices. So one thing I would say is to try to be careful if you have people that are close in your friend circle or close to you in your family circle that are utilizing these things, because once again, I already explained earlier in the video that these persons are tapping into darkness, unfortunately, because if you're not tapping into the light of God for guidance or for vision, for vision of your future, vision of what God wants for you, vision of where he wants to take you. You know, you're utilizing a psychic. You're trying to see, when am I going to get married? I'm going to the psychic. No way. If you're doing those type of things, you're getting tarot card readings. That type of stuff is inviting darkness into your life. It's inviting curses into your life. And it's also false, because there's going to be times that a familiar spirit is going to tell this psychic or this medium something that's going to be on point, because that familiar spirit was present. That familiar spirit is, I'll just say it could be a demon, whatever. It was present when something happened. So it's going to seem like, wow, whatever it told this person, nobody else could have known. Like, they told me something about my grandma. Nobody else would have known that. Yes, it does seem like it's real. And like I said, it's a familiar spirit talking to that person. So please, whatever you do, try to avoid all those type of practices. Try to avoid utilizing anything that's tapping into darkness for the future. If you're anxious for the future, pray. Pray, seek God, ask God to reveal things to you, ask God to guide you, lead you. And one thing about God is he only wants good things for you. Honestly, God wants good things for his children. He does not want curses and evilness and torment. He doesn't want that for us. And that's why he doesn't want us to pick up those things. And even astrology. You have to be careful. You have to be careful, because like I said, even I had a relative that, it feels like it started off innocent, where they, hey, we all was into astrology. We're all reading the horoscope. We're all, basically utilizing our sign to try to predict our love life. It seems like it was innocent, but it all started off that way. Next thing I know, like this person was so obsessed, they became an astrologer. They start doing readings. They can't, everything in their life goes by the sun, the moon, the stars, and the time. Like, they can't do anything without tapping into the occult. Nothing. And for myself, I have been delivered from that. So I'm not practicing astrology anymore. I'm not practicing any of those things anymore, because God asks us to leave that stuff alone. And not only that, I can't trust in God. I can't have full faith in God and have full faith in the astrology, the horoscope for the year. What does it say my life is going to look like for 2025? If I'm trusting in that, I might as well not trust in Jesus. So just wanted to share, those are some of the things that, people that are dealing with occultic type of practices in your friend circle, your family circle, they're gonna have some kind of association with that. For sure, they are gonna. Now we're just gonna get into sign number 8. Sign number 8 is good news fails. So once you tell this person good things or good news, like you're about to get this job, you're about to get this promotion, let's say it's a really good job too, that's when things start to go wrong or things start to fail. One thing I will say is I have experienced it in my own personal life. I have experienced, where I feel like I've told the wrong people something, and, it feels like it was sabotage, like it didn't come to pass, it didn't happen. Another thing that I want to encourage y'all, I know this seems kind of crazy, but when it comes to, like, let's say you're someone who wants a new job, you're trying to get a new job, what I would encourage you to do is to keep it quiet. Be quiet, move in silence. Do not share with everybody that you want this new job. Don't post it on the Facebook. Y'all, please pray for me. I need this new job. Because somehow, even though people be like, you got this, it's yours. Somehow, some way, you will find yourself not getting that job, or not getting that promotion that you have been, dying for, or you have just been, so hopeful for it. And I'm not saying that what you're supposed to have you won't receive, but what I will say is that there are evil people. They're very evil people. There are witches, there are warlocks, there are evil spirits and people that harbor evil spirits that wish bad towards you. And it's like once you put things out in the air, they will get ruined. If you want to be stagnant, if you want to see your plans not prosper, you want to see things not move forward, open up your mouth and tell everybody what you're getting ready to do or what you want or what you hope, your dreams and desires. It's really best to move in silence. You know, at this time in my life, at my big age, it's like I have learned so many life lessons. Be quiet, zip my lips, move in silence. If you want a promotion, you want a new job, tell it to God, because God's not going to reveal it to the wrong person. The enemy's not going to get a chance to get in and sabotage it, And sometimes of course, you can share things with people you really trust, that have your back and whatnot. But I feel like personally, I accomplish a lot more when I just move in silence and don't make announcements for everything. And especially on social media, you got to be real careful there, because everybody doesn't want to see you do good. Everybody doesn't want to see you prosper. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Also, I was going to say, another thing I was going to say is for your resume. For those of you who are trying to get new jobs or promotions, whatever, let's say you have certain references on your resume. I'm going to encourage you to take anybody off of that resume that you don't feel like you can genuinely trust. Sometimes we add coworkers because we're like, oh, I just need a reference and this person likes me or this person loves me. They're going to give me a good reference. That's true. They may give you a good reference, but behind the scenes, if you're dealing with a witch, they know what to pray for. They know what to block and they know what to sabotage. Now, oh, this person wants a new job. They want a promotion. I remember just one situation for myself where that's okay because, obviously, I'll just say it wasn't the Lord's will, but I didn't get this job and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell nobody I applied. I didn't tell nobody nothing. And it's like, I got to the second round interview and it's like these people were so excited about me. But you know what happened? I had a certain person's name down on my resume as a reference. And this person was contacted, behind my back, I guess, like to ask about me. And I didn't. And once again, this is a former friend that I didn't realize was, a witch that was sending curses to me. All I can say to you all is I definitely did not get that job. And it's not because, okay, I did a terrible job in the interview or anything. And it's like the person just kept asking me, did you get the job? Did you get the job? And it's like, I didn't get the job because it's like you were checking because you wanted to see if your if your curses were prevailing against me. And we know one thing that we can just say is that as children of God, these curses are not going to prevail against us. The Bible says no weapon formed against me shall prosper. But what that means is the weapon will form. Yes, a weapon will form. It just won't prosper. So it's like at the time when this happened to me, this was during the time that I was under severe spiritual attack. In 2024, I had just purchased my new home, or, my home, my very first home. A person was sending a curse against me. This is the same time when I didn't get the job that, I was so excited about. Like I said at the time, I had some grudges in my heart against some people. So I had some things that allowed the curse to land. But one thing that I will say is the curse did not destroy me. It couldn't destroy me. It couldn't harm my soul. It couldn't break me to the point where I lost my faith in God or, I lost my home. None of those things. So just know that no weapon formed against me will prosper. So prosper means continue, go on, go forth, but it doesn't mean that the weapon's not formed. So that means that people will always continue to launch attacks against us. If you are a believer, people are going to launch attacks against you. If you are not a believer, people are going to launch attacks against you. The difference is when you're not a believer is you don't realize it. What happens is you just chalk it up to bad luck. You think, man, I'm just having bad luck in my life, things are just going wrong. I used to feel like my life was cursed. Like before I came to Jesus, before I, come to, the knowledge of the Lord and start building a personal relationship with God, I felt my whole life was cursed. And literally it was. It was cursed because I was in darkness and I didn't have God's covering. I didn't know God. So one thing that I will say is, definitely to just be very careful. So that was sign number 8. Good news fails. Once you tell this person what you're getting ready to do or what's getting ready to happen for you, something exciting, it will fail oftentimes. So not always, because they don't have a monopoly over God and his power. But if you notice a pattern of things failing after you tell this one friend your good news, or you tell them, oh my God, this job called me back. This is my dream job. Or I'm getting ready to move out of state. I'm about to pursue my career. And some people try to block you or sabotage you, or they don't seem really happy for you. Watch out for those type of things. Like I said, good news often fails when you have a witch in your friend circle or in your close relatives, even amongst close relatives as well. They can plot on you as well, but because I would just say evil is not exempt. Nobody's exempt. Evil is running rampant out here, and it's running rampant for, I'm just going to say, across the globe. So we can't say, oh, only the people that aren't related to you could possibly harm you, because that's not true. So evil knows nobody. It knows no face. It can get into, anybody that has not surrendered their heart to Christ. Let me just say that. So once again, you tell them good things, you tell them good news, and things start to fail, things start to fall apart. So like I said, I got that person off my resume immediately, effective immediately, because I knew in my heart and I knew in my spirit, even before I figured out that they were actually a witch and that they were cursing me. I knew something didn't seem right, because I'm like, I didn't tell nobody. I didn't tell not nobody that I had applied for this job and all this, nothing. And so it's like, wow, this one person would happen to find out because somebody saw their name on my reference list. And then, I'll just say, like I said, I was under attack at the time. I was spiritually weak. I was very vulnerable. And, I had some things in my life going on that allowed the curse to land at the time. However, I know that those type of curses cannot land, like they can't prosper, against God's children. That's what I'm saying. And people can attack us, but they're not going to be able to curse our life and destroy our life when God has his hand on your life and his covering is over you. So I just want to say that. Let's go into number 9. Number 9 is like negativity. Ooh, so I hate to say this, but like negativity, always complaining. I'm really, really trying to be extremely cognizant and really watch it. Watch how much you complain. Watch how much, like, if you're always talking about something negative, you're always talking about someone, or you're always talking about something going wrong, you have to be very, very careful of those things. Another thing that I was going to say that's very distinct sign when you have a witch or a warlock in your friend circle, your family circle, close family, if you go to someone's house, let me tell you, just like what happened to me with the curse that was launched against me, you go to someone's house and you experience immediate negativity, turmoil, a series of unfortunate events, that you best believe that person is into something occultic or something negative that you have no idea of. Like, let's say as soon as you leave, you get pulled over by the police. The police pull you over, your car breaks down, you run out of gas. Like, a lot of bad things happen. Like, soon as you leave their house, a series of unfortunate events happen. Just like when I got home, I went to sleep for 2 hours, then all of a sudden the toilet is overflowing until it turns into Noah's Ark. Couldn't get the water valve to turn off. Like, those type of things. Like, some people might just say, oh, it's just a streak of bad luck, or, oh, it's no big deal. A lot of times we dismiss this type of things. But like I said a little earlier, we can't dismiss this type of stuff. Don't take this stuff lightly. Don't take it for granted. This is not to be taken lightly. If a lot of bad things happen to you when you're around someone, soon as you leave their presence, there is something wrong. There is definitely something wrong. And I don't want you to just dismiss it as a coincidence. Trust me on this one. Don't just say, oh, that's just weird that happened. But it doesn't have anything to do with me hanging out with them. It probably does. So I will be honest with you. Be very careful. If a series of unfortunate events or a lot of negativity happens when you're around that person or as soon as you leave their presence, also if you get sick, if you find yourself getting sick, like let's say all of a sudden your stomach is hurting so bad. I remember this even happened to me. My stomach was hurting so bad. I thought I was going to throw up, but for some reason the vomit wouldn't come out. I mean, it was hurting so bad because you know when the saliva starts coming to your mouth, it's like it's coming. It would not come out. So it's like, be careful, because when you're around negative energy, negative presence, people that have malicious intent or they have evil inside of them, it can affect your immune system. You actually can feel physical body symptoms. Physically, you can feel physically ill because you're around this person and you're like wondering what's going on. Also, like I said, the complaining, we have to be very, very careful about the complaining. God does not want us to be murmuring and complaining. He doesn't want us to be sitting around, thinking about everything that's going wrong. He really wants us to give God the glory. He wants us to take time to give him praise, honor, glory, and to bask on his goodness. Think on his goodness. Think on the good things, He doesn't want us to make every day in life a complaint session. So it's like we have to be very careful. Just try to be cognizant. It's so easy. Like, sometimes things can go wrong in life. Like you can have a season of, difficult heartaches and trials. All of us go through pain, heartache, everything. None of us are exempt. So one thing I would just say is to try to find the joy in your day. Start your day off with joy. Start your day off with thanks. Start your day off with praise. Don't start your day off with complaints. Like if you're going to turn on to social media and it's going to be a bunch of negativity, don't start your day with social media, because it might set your day in the wrong direction. So one thing I could just say is the negativity and the always complaining, like that it's like a demon that's always complaining. The person's never satisfied. They're never happy. They're always glorifying what's going wrong in their life. They're always talking about what's not right and, complaining about work, complaining about their family, complaining about everything that they're disgruntled about, and now it's politics because, we have a lot going on in our country. So people are really complaining about what's going on within, the political climate at this time. So I would just say, even with that, trust God. Trust God. Don't worry about the politicians. Don't worry about who's in office. Trust God. That's all I can say. And if you don't have a relationship with God, this will be a great time to build one, because we have a lot going on in our country. But just do your best to try to avoid complaining too much and being around negative people that are always complaining. They bring your spirit down. They actually drain you, like too much complaining it actually drains you. Like if you just sit there and listen to someone complain, you're going to be ready to put the phone down. Like, man, like they're just like, I don't want to just say killing your vibe, but they're bringing you down. So it's like, just be careful. If someone is sharing something that happened to them or something they're going through, like they're going through a tough time, I wouldn't just call that complaining. Someone confiding in you, but I'm saying if someone is just on a complaint session, they're always like, as soon as you talk to them, you have a phone conversation or you see them in person, they're only talking about complaints. They're only talking about what's bothering them. And then once again, I just reiterated, if negative things happen to you subsequently, soon as you leave their presence, bad things are happening. Things that you didn't plan, or you just met with this person. Then the next day you wake up and find out you just got laid off from your job, or, you've been fired or let go. And, we might say, oh, no one can control if someone's being let go or laid off. But it's like, listen, you sat down, you talked to that person, you let them know you were really going through at your job, or, whatever happened, whatever's going on in your life. And then all of a sudden, some of those key areas start falling apart. Things start going downhill. Do not just take that as it's just life. It's just trials. It's just heartaches. It's just a part of life. Yes, trials and heartaches are a part of life, but unintentional ones are not. Like if I spend time with you and now a series of unfortunate events are happening to me after I shared some things with you and I, was just at your home or you were at my home, it could be correlated to someone who is practicing witchcraft. Because the thing about it is when they have these conversations, they need information about you so they know what to attack. They know what to basically what to go after. They want to know what to go after in your life. If you tell them you and your husband have been having a lot of trouble lately, your marriage has been on the rocks, things have been going bad, go ahead and share that news with them. You're going to go from on the rocks to the divorce line. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, be very careful. Once again, be careful who you share your bad news with, but also watch out for people who complain too much or they're too negative because they're harboring a lot of demons. And another way you know this person's harboring a ton of demons, because those demons cannot rest. They have to come out. They have to come out. They have to say something. They have to make themselves known. That's another way that you know. And so that's why I said like that complainsive spirit is very draining. These demons have to make you aware that they're tormented. They're tormented inside. That's why they come out. That's why the person can't, they have a hard time being positive. They have a hard time thinking positive, speaking positive, living positive, being positive, because those demons are tormenting them. They're just tormenting them inside. So the last sign that we're going to get into is number 10, okay? And this is within their home. If they have special rooms, special chairs, or special places that you cannot go in, you cannot sit down, so you can't sit in that chair because that chair's designated for special reasons. You can't go in that room because that room is a sacred private place that nobody's allowed to see. Like, let's say they got other things going on, that you're not aware of. Be very careful. Be very careful. I know there are some people, that are practicing, into occultic practices and witchcraft that are, harming people. They're sending spells. They're using charms to harm folks. And, some people will actually invite people over and they have like, some chair that they basically, summon the demons to say whoever sits there will become ill, or whoever sits in that chair, will lose their financial well-being, those type of things. Like, be very careful with these people because occultic practices are very dangerous. The thing about it is, like I said, they're tapping into darkness. They're counting on demons. They're basically working with demons to harm other people. And that's why I had to take time to make this video today, because I just want somebody to beware. Watch out for these signs when these people are in your friend circle, or even if they're in your family, within close relation in your family, like somebody you have relationship with. If it's somebody that you don't know, like I'm saying, if there's somebody in your family that's a witch, but you don't know they're a witch, there's really nothing you can do other than just pray for them, right? But I'm saying, try to distance yourself, try to cut ties from anybody that has a lot of these signs, because I'm telling you, it's like, it just doesn't bring good things into your life. It can be hard for you to prosper. It can even be hard for you to break free in different areas of your life when you're surrounded by these people. It's not good to be surrounded by people that are into the things that I mentioned and shared in today's video. Also, the last two things I just want to say about within their home, being controlling. They're typically controlling about things that people wouldn't naturally try to control. So it's like, if you go to someone's house for dinner, I'm just going to be honest. Most people don't say, sit in that seat right there. That's the seat you have to sit in. You're like, oh, okay. Like, if somebody tells me that, I don't know if I want to sit down, and I definitely don't want to eat. Like, typically, if you see a table and they tell you, oh, go sit down at the table, then that means you can go have a seat, wherever you like at the table. So be very careful with people that are extremely controlling about things that you naturally wouldn't be controlling over. Also, if let's say a person is not, let's say this person is not necessarily professing to be a Christian or a believer. And let's say they tell you, let's say you don't even know of them having a faith. Let's say to the best of your knowledge, you don't know of them believing in God, worshiping God, or serving a God. If they tell you they're fasting and you don't know of them, like, ascribing to like a certain religion or something, where you do actually utilize the principle of fasting, that is another thing that witches do. They fast. They fast for evil. So don't get it twisted. Don't think that only the holy and the righteous people are fasting, for purity and cleansing. They fast for evil. They fast for like rituals. It's ritualistic fasting. They fast for higher rank, and all sorts of things that we wouldn't be aware of. So I just want to thank you all that took time to listen to this video on today and to tune in to my channel. I just want to tell you, more episodes to come. I will still be continuing to talk about my series on narcissism and how they abuse you and different things that go hand in hand with narcissistic abuse. However, I still want to continue talking about how because witchcraft is real and it's been very prevalent. It's like there's an uptick. It's like more evil than it feels like than it's ever been, I'll just say, since I've been on earth. So that is why I took time today to try to describe some signs and symptoms of when you have a witch in your inner circle. So this person is in your inner circle friendship, or they're in your family. Could be one of both. Could be a coworker. So you might recognize these signs in a coworker too, even if you don't consider yourself friends. But I just wanted to share these things with you just to kind of warn people to be careful, evaluate your friend circle. And the best way to evaluate your friend circle is to think about what benefit is this person giving to me and what benefit am I giving to them? What am I actually providing for them? Am I providing support? Am I providing love, companionship, friendship, etc.? What are they providing for me? Are we providing, something good for each other? Are we only providing gossip for one another? Are we only, providing a complaint session? Are we only, just are they just utilizing flattery, to kind of like win me over and buy me? Like, look at those things. Try to see, if any of these things are present. And especially if someone is like jealous or envious of you, if they express any of those things, I would definitely encourage you to evaluate and be very careful. The last thing I want to say about jealousy and envy is I actually hate, it makes me cringe when people use the phrase, I'm so jealous, I'm so jealous. So like, let's say someone, gets a big award or something good happens for somebody and they say, I'm so jealous. Oh my God, I'm so jealous. I don't like that phrase at all. It makes me cringe because I always feel like there could be some truth to that. People say, I'm so jealous, which is supposed to mean, oh, I wish that I could have done that too. Or I wish that could have been me. But, like I said, jealousy and envy are sisters. They're very close. They're close in kinship. And it's like, it doesn't take much for a person to become envious of you if they're already jealous. And also, it's just not a good trait to have. So one thing about it is, if you can, refrain from using the phrase, I'm so jealous. When somebody tells you good news or someone says, I'm getting married. Oh, I'm so jealous. You're so lucky. No, leave that alone. Please don't say that phrase. And no, they're not so lucky. They're blessed, and it's their time. So congratulate them. Congratulate people. Don't tell them I'm so jealous. Even if it's in casual conversation. A lot of people have a habit of doing that when they harbor that spirit of being so jealous. So be careful about that. You all check, reevaluate your relationships, look and see if any of these signs are present. If these signs are present, be very careful. Be careful. Start to distance yourself from that person because it's, they can actually harm you. This person is intending harm. And I will just say, if they become powerful enough, and let's say you are unaware, you're unsuspecting, and let's say you're not covered by God. Let's say, you're not a believer, and let's say you're not covered by God. Their attacks, the attacks that they launch on you, it could take your life. It could cause you to be in the hospital. It could cause you to have a permanent illness. Like, all sorts of things could happen. But one thing I will just say is, for the children of God, yes, you are protected. Yes, God is covering us. However, we are still vulnerable to be attacked, but we are being covered. So it will not prosper, but we are vulnerable to attack. So definitely stay prayed up, stay encouraged, keep your faith in God, read your word, pray daily, and avoid the people that I described. If you have people in your friend circle, your family circle that are into these things, or they display these things, try to distance yourself from them. Try to avoid, close friendship or being, really close kinship with someone. So you can't deny whatever role they play in your life as far as family. It's just, you don't have to hang with them. You don't have to go to their house. You don't have to have them over your house, and you don't have to hang out with them. And, and also the last thing I was going to say is, be careful of anybody that's pushy. Anybody that's very pushy about inviting themselves to your home or coming over, like they just want to pop up, or they just want to show up and just show up at your house uninvited. Most of us are not going. We're not opening the door. You can stand out there. You can knock all day. We're not home. You were not invited. I didn't expect you. But I'm just saying, let's say it's somebody that you really care about. You're like, oh, this is my best friend, or this is so-and-so. They're here. Be careful. Just be very careful and diligent of anybody that's too pushy. That's all I'm saying. If they're pushy, they always invite themselves over, or they always want to be in your presence, whether you want it or not, whether you want to be bothered with them or not. Be careful. Watch out for people like that. That's all I have to say, is just be cautious, and also try not to allow yourself to get bewitched. I gave the definition for bewitched. Be careful. Don't eat the food. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't take the gifts. Don't wear the jewelry. Like, if you can't trust that person's spirit, then you cannot wear the jewelry. That's all I have to say. If you can't trust their spirit. But I will say that there are still very good people out here that you can trust, and everybody is not trying to harm you. But in this day and age, we have to be careful. The Bible says that we have to be wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. So in closing, I thank you for stopping by my channel. I thank you all that have watched this video through to the end. I thank you so much for those that have taken time to like, subscribe, share, anything. And I just want to say that more new content is coming out soon. I thank you all that have supported me thus far and helped me, build this channel thus far. So I just want to say, look forward to new content, more consistent content, and definitely it will not be another 3 to 4 month hiatus. So I will be back with you all soon with more content, and please have a blessed day. Thank you.